Greetings, and in this short video presentation we'll take a look at how we go about installing the Webmin web interface. Webmin provides a form-based web browser interface for nearly all of the configuration tasks that we need to handle on a Linux server platform. And though Webmin is not perfect, it does provide another way for us to configure services and applications running on a Linux server using a GUI interface. To begin this lab, I've logged on to my Fedora server as root, and once I've gotten to the desktop, I have gone to Activities and I've launched Firefox. Up inside the address bar for Firefox, I have typed in www.webmin.com. Once I've gotten to the Webmin download page, I'm going to go over to the left and I'm going to click on the RPM download. This takes just a minute to start, and once it starts, I'm going to save it to the default location of my downloads folder. Now once the package has completed downloading, we can click on Show All Downloads, and if I double click it, in just a moment it will give me the option to install it using the App Installer utility. So I'm going to go ahead and just say Install, and in just a moment we will have Webmin installed and ready to open. Once the Webmin package has successfully installed, we need to bring up a command prompt and check on the status of our Apache web server and ensure that it is up and running. If it is up and running, then the next step is to go ahead and launch the web page for Webmin. Once I've confirmed that my web service is running, I can then launch my default browser, Firefox, and up inside the address bar I'm going to type in https://localhost, and that could be 127.0.0.1:10,000, and then we're just going to go ahead and launch the web logon page for Webmin. In just a moment I should have my default page for Webmin pop up here. So once your Webmin logon page pops up, you're going to log on as root with the root password. So mine's already typed in. I'm going to go ahead and say sign in, and in just a moment we'll have the actual interface for Webmin. My Webmin default page is now completed loading, and I want to give you a quick tour over here on the left from the default menu, and as we go down we're going to run into some things that you should be familiar with. Beginning with the WebAdmin itself, you can see that we have the basic configuration files, we have the Webmin action log, the configuration, and some other things in here. We also have the system. Now underneath system, anything that you can do from the command line as far as installing packages, uninstalling packages, system logs, users and groups, file system backup, disk quotas, and all that information is actually in here. So anything that you can do from the command line, you should be able to do it from Webmin within reason. I'm not going to say that everything is going to work as it should. Webmin is not an absolute. It does have its issues, but for the most part it does work. Now, in our previous lab we looked at the web server, and we see that the Apache web server is available here. And if we open up the Apache web server, we're now going to see what it looks like from a GUI interface. So once I have clicked on the Apache web server, it gives me everything that I can do from the command prompt, but this time I'm using a user-friendly GUI. So we can see that the document root folder is the same as it was from the command line, which was the var www.folder/the HTML folder. Now if you'd like to go in and configure some of these files, you can do so just by using this WebAdmin tool. And we can see that I can edit the config files here. Let me give you a rundown on this one file here, because this is where you have to go if you want to make any changes to the default behavior of your web server. So for instance, if I don't want my web page, my default web page, to be called index.html, I have to go into the config file and I have to edit that certain setting for the index.html to something else such as home.html. This is the httpd.config file, and you can actually edit it from here up inside of the Webmin interface. For instance, if you don't want your web service to be running on port 80, this is where you can change it. Now, by default, all browsers work off of port 80. So if you don't want it to work on port 80, then you have to tell it when you type in the address for your website what port HTTPD is actually running on. And then we also see down here that we can do some other things. Let me take you down here real quick to the bottom down here. So right now, the server admin is root at localhost. There's a lot of things in here that you can edit, and you can add a lot of different things. For instance, if you don't like the root folder, and you would like to change it from being located here at the /var/www./html, if you don't like that location of your default folder, you can change it here. You can change it to something else, whatever it is you want. All right, but you've got to make sure that you change it all through the document. Okay, and it would also see that the directory or the default home page is called index.html. And again, if you don't like that, you have to go in here and you have to change it to something else. And it's not uncommon to do that. A lot of people like to call it start.html or home.html or whatever it is they prefer. And you also got the locations for your error logs and what those are called. And there's a lot of information in here that you can modify, and you can create subdirectories and all that fun stuff for your website in here. This is just a very important file, and if you're going to play with it, make sure you make a backup of it first. Okay? Now over on the left, if we go to the menu and we click on Others, and we can click on File Manager, and in just a moment we'll see how our directory structure appears up inside of Webmin. So this is the entire directory structure for my Fedora server. Now remember the path that we talked about for my default web pages, my default website. It was up inside the HTML directory, correct? So if I click on the var, open this up, I can then go to www, and then I can go into HTML, and here you'll find the index.html document. And that's just another way you can get to it. And you'll also see that over here that I can edit. There's some other tools that I can pull down here. I can change permission, change ownership, attributes. All this can be done from this user-friendly GUI. Now remember that I can also add files in here. I can create files. I can create a new directory, whatever I want to do. I can upload to a current directory, download from a remote URL. So if I want to pull down a website, I can do that using Webmin. Now, there's a lot of different things that you can do in here, but I just suggest that you take it slow and steady if you're going to use Webmin, and make sure that you back up everything that you modify. So you've seen how I opened up the file manager under Others, and I browsed on over to the default location for my websites. And we know that's up inside of the var. Then we're up inside of the www directory, and inside there we have another directory called HTML, and inside the HTML directory I have the index.html file. So if you would like to go ahead and edit this, just double click it. It's going to pop up and it's going to ask you what you want to open it with. Now by default the text editor is not going to be there, so you're going to have to go to Other, and you can view all applications. Scroll on down till you come to your text editor, and I've already been playing in here. That's why my text editor is already available. And I can say select, and now I can say OK. And now my HTML file, my index.html, will actually open up for me here, and I can go in and I can edit this. Okay. So we're looking at this. It wants to create this index.-6 file up inside of a temp folder, but that's not where we need to have it. So when I get done editing this file, I have to do a save as, and I have to browse on over to the other locations, go into my computer, go on down here to my var folder. I'm going right back where I found this file, www.html, and then I have to click on the index.html file. I can say replace it, or I can say cancel, whatever changes I've made to the file, and then I can just close that out. And now when I go back in to open up the file, whatever changes I've made will be available. Now you may have to stop and restart the Apache server for this to take effect. That's not unusual. Okay, so that's one way that you can edit your index.html file using a user-friendly GUI. So that's all I got for you this time. But don't be shy about playing around with Webmin. It's got a lot of features. It's got a lot of things that you can do. Every time you add a service up inside of the CLI, that's going to pop up inside of the Webmin as well. And there's going to be other unused modules down here that you can pull from. For instance, if you want to install the DHCP server, you can from inside of Webmin. All right, so that's all I got, and I will see you in my next video.